Every night at 10:47, my neighbor leaves. Every night, he comes back in different clothes. Some are burned. Some are bloody. One belonged to a dead man on the news. Then he wore my jacket and now, I go out too. I live in a narrow building that smells like old paint and boiled coffee. Thin walls. Thinner patience. My neighbor lives across the hall. I won't use his real name. I'll call him Evan, because that's what his mail says, and because saying it out loud still makes my throat tighten. The first thing you should know is that I'm not paranoid. I'm a creature of routines. I wake up early, I work late, and I watch the hallway through the peephole when I can't sleep. That last habit started innocently, the way bad habits always do. Every night at exactly the same time, 10:47, not 10:46, not 10:48, Evan's door opens. The first night I noticed, he wore a gray hoodie and black jeans. Normal. He locked his door carefully, tested the handle twice, and walked down the stairs. I remember the time because I checked my phone, annoyed that someone's footsteps had broken the quiet. The second night, same time. 10:47. This time he wore a suit. Dark blue. Tailored. Shoes that clicked like they were too expensive for our building. I remember thinking he must have a strange job or a complicated life. I remember thinking it was none of my business. By the third night, I was waiting. This is the part where you'll say I should have stopped watching. That curiosity is a choice. You're right. But when something repeats that perfectly, your brain doesn't call it fear, it calls it data. Night after night, 10:47. Evan exits. Different clothes. A gym outfit, damp with sweat. A winter coat in the middle of spring. A hospital gown, open in the back, his skin pale under the hallway light. That was the first time I felt real fear, the kind that settles behind your eyes. He always came back, too. That's important. Always at 11:18. 31 minutes later. No matter what he wore when he left, when he returned, the clothes had changed again. Sometimes cleaner. Sometimes worse. Once, he came back barefoot, his feet blackened like he'd walked through ash. Once, his shirt was torn down the middle, buttons missing, like someone else had tried to pull it off him in a hurry. He never looked at me. Not once. He never noticed the peephole darkening. I tried to tell myself stories. Costume changes. Theater work. Some elaborate workout routine. But then came the red jacket. I recognized it before my mind caught up. Bright red, reflective stripe along the arm. I'd seen it on the morning news, draped over a stretcher. A hit and run downtown. The reporter had mentioned the jacket because it was distinctive. Because they were still looking for witnesses. When Evan came back wearing it, there was something dark on the sleeve that didn't look like rain. I didn't sleep that night. Or the next. I started keeping notes, writing down what he wore, how he looked, whether his hands shook when he unlocked his door. They did, more often than not. The hallway began to feel narrower. The clock louder. 10:47 started to feel like a threat instead of a time. I considered confronting him. I even practiced what I'd say. Hey, weird question, but why do you dress like a different person every night and come home looking like you've stepped out of other people's worst days? It sounded insane, even in my head. What stopped me was the night he didn't leave on time. 10:47 came and went. 10:48. 10:50. I was standing at my door, I pressed to the peephole, heart thudding like I'd missed a step on the stairs. I told myself I was relieved. At 11:18, his usual return time, his door opened from the inside. Evan stepped into the hall wearing clothes I had seen him leave in days before. The gray hoodie. The black jeans. Clean. Neat. Like a reset. He paused. For the first time since I'd been watching, he looked straight at my door. And he smiled, like he knew I was there. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I waited for the sound of his footsteps crossing the hallway, for the knock that never came. After a long moment, Evan turned back into his apartment and closed the door gently, like he was tucking someone in. That was the night I understood something important. Whatever he was doing out there, it wasn't random. And whatever it was, he knew I was watching. The next day, I skipped work. I sat at my kitchen table with my notebook open, staring at my own handwriting like it belonged to someone else. Dates. Times. Clothes. Little observations that meant nothing on their own and everything together. 31 minutes. Always. In. Out. Changed. I finally did what I should have done weeks earlier. I knocked on his door. Up close, Evan looked more tired than dangerous. Dark circles under his eyes. Skin stretched thin, like sleep had become optional. He wore a sweater I hadn't seen before, cream-colored, frayed at the cuffs. "Can I help you?" he asked. His voice was normal. That scared me more than anything. I lied badly. Told him I'd had a package delivered by mistake. He shook his head, polite, detached, already halfway back behind the door. "You go out every night," I blurted. He froze. For a long moment, the hallway hummed with electricity and old light bulbs. Then he sighed, the sound heavy, like he'd been carrying it a long time. "You shouldn't watch," he said. Not angry. Not threatening. Just tired. "What are you doing?" I asked. He looked at me then, really looked at me, like he was deciding whether I was worth the truth. "Making things even," he said. "Or trying to." Before I could ask what that meant, he closed the door. That night, I didn't use the peephole. I sat on the stairs instead, one flight down, where I could see the front door. 10:47 came. Evan walked out wearing clothes I recognized immediately. My clothes. The jacket I thought I'd lost last winter. The boots I hadn't been able to find since a night I barely remembered. My stomach dropped. I followed him. Outside, the air felt wrong. Too still. Like the city was holding its breath. Evan walked with purpose, turning corners without hesitation. I stayed back, heart in my throat, every shadow suddenly crowded with meaning. We stopped in front of a building I knew. A bar I'd been to once. A night I'd woken up bruised, wallet lighter, memory full of holes. Evan turned to me before I could hide. "I don't choose where I go," he said calmly. "I go where things broke." "What are you?" I whispered. "Late," he said. "Always late." He explained it in pieces, like he'd practiced. Every night, at the same time, he was pulled into moments just after something terrible happened. Accidents. Crimes. Fires. He couldn't stop them. He could only arrive after, and leave wearing what the dead or broken had worn last. "The clothes stick," he said. "So do the echoes." I understood then. The red jacket. The hospital gown. The ash-black feet. "Why me?" I asked. "Because you were there once," he said gently. "And you walked away." The ground seemed to tilt. Memories pressed in, sirens, shouting, someone on the pavement not moving while I convinced myself it wasn't my responsibility. "You came back wearing my clothes," I said. "Yes," he replied. "Because tonight, it's your turn to see what you missed." The world lurched. I don't remember the transition. One second I was standing in the street, the next I was somewhere else, rain-slick asphalt, flashing lights, a body under a red jacket. That red jacket. I smelled metal and panic. I felt the weight of seconds I had once ignored. 31 minutes later, I was back in the hallway of my building. Evan was gone. His apartment was empty the next morning. Clean. Bare. Like no one had ever lived there. But on my bed was a neatly folded outfit I didn't recognize, still warm, faintly smelling of smoke. Now, every night at 10:47, I feel the pull. And every night at 11:18, I come back in different clothes. If you live near someone who keeps perfect time, don't watch too closely. You might inherit the schedule.